Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Should Roman Reigns have won the Elimination Chamber main event? I'm Ollie Davis. This is Luke Owen. Welcome to WrestleRamble. And we haven't actually talked to each other before this recording about how we found the pay-per-view itself. So I'm going to say, man, it was predictable, and stupid me for thinking it was going to be anything but.
Yeah, I can pretty much get behind that. I mean, I enjoyed the show.
Did you?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed both the chamber matches, and I enjoyed the Rousey contract signing. So, of the three things that they actually advertised, I very much enjoyed. And then the undercard was, Raw matches, basically. And effectively, they weren't terrible matches. They were just average matches made worse by a crowd full of dicks.
Oh, okay, so this is we'll get to that later on. I think beach ball might have something to do with it. Chant it in the comments. Let's get a beach ball chant in the comments.
Let's start a Mexican wave in the comments.
Yeah, Rusev Day chants in the comments. Chuck some CM Punk in there for good measure. So, Roman Reigns won the Elimination Chamber match, which we all knew was going to happen. Mm-hmm. We've all known this since March 2017, so pretty much a year. And
well, we didn't know he was winning this match. We knew he was going to be main eventing WrestleMania.
Okay,
because there were those who thought he was going to win the Royal Rumble. I assumed he was going to win the Elimination Chamber because it was a Raw branded pay-per-view.
Yeah, same here. So I think that the match itself I enjoyed. I really enjoyed it once Braun Strowman got involved. But my problem with Roman winning, apart from the obvious, apart from I'm bored of this. This is all redundant criticism. It's white noise now. Roman Reigns should turn heel. Roman Reigns isn't really the guy that everyone wants to see at the top. It's the fourth time WrestleMania 34, 4 WrestleManias in a row he would have main evented now. Mm-hmm. This is the latest attempt at a coronation to cement him as the company's top star. When really he's it's so true. He's not like the bad guy or the good guy. He's just the guy. He's like a guy. Although he's very good, that's unfair. I don't know why. It's one thing knowing something's going to happen, and it's another to see it unfold, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah. So this is happening.
Yeah. I get that, and I think it is an incredibly valid criticism. And would I have rather seen Seth Rollins win and go on face? I'm still pushing for Balor. Balor going for the Universal Championship is much more it's something I'm more interested in. I wish he'd gone for the Universal Championship at Royal Rumble. But the situation we are in is the same situation we've been in all year long. It's Roman versus Brock at WrestleMania, and this is how we had to get to that.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. If you put Balor in there, it would be ridiculous, and we would like to see Balor in that spot, but we can't really say that you can do that because there's been no build for it. It's just been out of nowhere, and we criticise WWE for that kind of booking anyway. We should do the same thing to someone, even if we'd like them. Seth Rollins got a lot of momentum. There's the story there with the Shield and Roman, but I don't think that's what, that hasn't had enough build either. Braun Strowman, all the Roman Reigns stuff, there has equally been a Braun Strowman-Lesnar story, and the way this match was structured for Braun to run through everyone and everyone gang up on him, and for commentary to keep saying over and over again, man, Roman Reigns is the underdog here. Braun had literally 5 guys team up on him, and he still overcame them all.
I was kind of really surprised. We talk about how the match was predictable, and you can say that if you want. I was genuinely surprised at how much they gave Braun in this.
I was too, and that was the best thing in the match for me.
Not in terms of, I'm surprised they put him over strong, because he's Braun Strowman. Of course they're going to put him over strong. But when they did the big old powerbomb, and they all stacked up on top of him, I was like, well, that's Braun out the match. And then Braun kicked out and just pinned every other person in the match. I was like, well, I mean, I know we're pushing for Braun, for Roman versus Brock at Mania, but hell, man, you're really putting Braun over strong here. You better have some WrestleMania plans for him now, because that's the thing coming out of this is what are Braun's plans for WrestleMania? And on top of that, it's Braun laid out Roman after the match, so you've pushed Roman as your guy, and it's going to be Roman versus Brock at WrestleMania. But how does Braun factor into that then? Because Braun was the one that stood tall at the end. Are you going to turn it into a triple threat match?
Yeah, it really stunk of the bad side of Stone Cold Steve Austin, where although you want to get over a certain guy, we watched Armageddon 2001, 2000?
It was 2000, and the same thing happened in Survivor Series 98.
Yeah, recently, where Kurt Angle wins at the end, or The Rock wins at Survivor Series after having a great heel turn. Steve Austin comes out and stunners everyone. Yeah. So it's like, oh, he's the top guy. And, it sounds like I'm saying two conflicting things here. I want Strowman to win, yada yada, and then I get annoyed when he beats up Roman at the end. It's because, those two things, you just flatten everyone out. And weirdly, they did the same post-match angle with Nia Jax and Asuka, down to the throwing someone into something that then breaks spot.
Yeah.
I just thought that was... really lazily planned.
I hadn't considered that. I was actually thinking, just before we came in here, there were two spots exactly the same in both chamber matches, which was two people doing frog splashes off the top of the pod, which I thought was very odd. But actually, that's a much odder one that I hadn't even considered. I almost actually forgot the Nia Jax thing happens. That, yeah, she kills Asuka after the match, and then Braun did the exact same thing. Because then we talked about the Nia Jax situation. Is she going to be going against Bliss at WrestleMania, and is Asuka going against Charlotte? In which case, then, yeah, grand. You needed to keep Nia Jax strong, I suppose. But then, does that make Asuka look weak going in against Charlotte? That. As I said on the prediction show, you booked yourselves into a corner with that match.
I just think sometimes that there are times for people to lose, right? And okay, I don't agree with it, but you're going with Roman Reigns. Make Roman Reigns look as strong as possible. You've done, Braun eliminated everyone in the match. So, okay, he's protected that way. So, when Roman wins, don't have Braun slam him at the end of it. I thought that was very...
That really left a sour note.
Yeah.
A sour taste in my mouth, actually. Because you're right. If Roman is your guy, and the story you're telling in that match is quite a good one, which is Braun's the absolute unstoppable monster. He beat Cena. He beat Finn. He beat Seth. He beat Miz. He beat Elias. Even when you had AAs, coup de grace, stomps, everything happened to Braun. Nothing could put him down. But two spears... that put the monster down. And that's why Roman stood tall. That's why Roman's the best, because he was the guy that could beat Braun Strowman when no one else could. But then Braun just laid him out after the match anyway, so did he actually accomplish anything?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I thought it was a very weirdly laid out match. If you want to get Roman over, why did everything in the match favour Braun and everything after the match favour Braun? It's like almost Roman winning isn't the thing you should be thinking about, which is baffling for a company that pushes Roman so hard. And I know you want to protect Braun and make Braun look good, and I'm fully behind that. But then let Braun win. You've just split all the heat. So no one really gets over it. And the same thing happened in Asuka and Nia Jax. Does anyone come out of that where I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is like Seth Rollins, when he came out of Raw, I genuinely felt... he's got momentum. He's a badass. He's on a winning streak. And he didn't really do much in the chamber match, I thought. But Braun Strowman, you could just follow that through, or have Roman follow. Why can't Roman pin everyone? LOL. And why can't Asuka just have a clean, solid, rather than a fluky roll up? Why can't she just dominate Nia Jax and then leave it at that? And then I'm like, oh, I want to see the dominant Asuka go against the slimy Alexa Bliss, who's trying to get out of everything, Miz style. I thought the finishes were bad.
I'll tell you what was also really baffling, and what surprised me the most in the men's elimination chamber match, is Braun kicked out the spear.
He kicked out of everything.
Well, I know he kicked out of everything, but we've been protecting this move all year long, because it takes one F5 to put you down, it takes one spear to put you down. Finally kicking out of the F5, finally kicking out of the spear. You do those big spots at WrestleMania, but that spot means nothing now because Braun's just kicked out of it. So, I can't... Why would you tell that story for a whole year and then not do it, and then not give a payoff to it?
It is strange.
Yeah.
It is strange. So, the actual men's Elimination Chamber match, will rewind to the start of this. Elias opened with a song.
He certainly did.
Which was great.
As Elias always does. He's got a bloody lovely new T-shirt. And, Elias is grand.
So he had a great line. Of course, the pay-per-view was held in Las Vegas. He said, so you're used to seeing people you love behind bars. I thought that was very good. And his song sort of outlines how he's going to be the last one in and he's going to win. And then Braun comes out and he went straight into the pod, didn't he?
Yeah.
Elias after that. I wanted him to bring his guitar in.
Yeah, well, that's what we all thought he was going to do. That's what we thought he was going to do. And then he's got a weapon inside the chamber, which, in all fairness, might have actually been something for Elias to do, because although he did come out last, he did not do a lot in this match. He came out, got power slammed, and got pinned, more or less.
Yeah, I wanted this to be Elias's, help him out more. I always think of in that brilliant Royal Rumble match when Punk was leading the Straight Edge Society, and in between each entry, because they would just dominate and throw people out, Punk had the mic and it just, cut promos on people and the crowd and everything. I thought that'd be a great spot for Elias to have to get him over.
Also, this would have been a good chance to kind of, put Elias into that upper mid card, into that main event picture. If that's what if you're putting him in this match, then surely you've got some hope behind him. You want to do something with him, especially with all the Cena stuff that you'd been building towards. I suppose I think that might be done now. But you just sort of did nothing with him in this match, which I thought was a bit of a waste.
But he is over. Like he's a hot act right now. I really like Elias.
Yeah, that's great. There was a great moment when people were doing all their entrances. The Miz was he was the first. He had to start the match, even though 3 people started the match, so that wasn't really much of a detriment to him. He was going around all the pods. And he could go up to Cena and do his "You Can't See Me" thing, and then he'd go to Roman Reigns and do his Superman punch thing. Then he'd go to Elias and kind of mock him a little bit. And then he went to Braun's and went to mock him, and Braun just rattled the cage and Miz went, "Whoa!" and turned away. I laughed out loud. My wife, who was watching it over my shoulder, also laughed. It was so funny.
Braun plays his role perfectly, but everyone else also reacts to Braun so well.
Yeah.
Like you got to think that image of Triple H selling the fear at the end of Survivor Series when Braun is choking him.
Yeah.
Everyone around Braun must think very highly of Braun, and they see that he's going to be a big deal because everyone gives him so much.
And that's what I mean. It's like you have even these outsider people who aren't inside the wrestling bubble can watch something like that and instantly understand everyone's character.
Yeah.
They understand that he's the big scary monster and the Miz is the cocky chicken S-word heel. The two of them just play it so well. I thought it was brilliant.
So it started off as a 3-way with, of course, Miz in there with the 2 Iron Men of WWE at the moment. Seth Rollins, hot off his gauntlet match. He's hour, 5-minute, whatever, of the 6 days before. And Finn Balor, who lasted the longest in the Royal Rumble match. And Miz tries to make alliances at the start. He tries to do a 2-sweep with Balor, which I enjoyed.
I really like this. And to be honest, if this is the match we're getting at WrestleMania, this triple threat for the IC title, which potentially
that's just something we've come up with.
Yes.
No one's reported Rollins in that.
No, it was just when we're trying to think of what Rollins can do, because I'm still not sure what Rollins can do at WrestleMania other than this match, really.
Well, Kurt Angle looks preoccupied now.
That's what we mean. So I think the only thing you can do is put Seth into this Intercontinental title feud. If this is what we're getting at WrestleMania, then I'm quite happy with that, because I really enjoyed these 3 working together. I thought they did some really nice spots. And yeah, I thought it was great.
So Cena was out next, and he had a really nice stare down with Seth. I am fascinated by John Cena's character right now.
Do you see his promo on Raw Talk?
No.
His promo on Raw Talk is incredible. It's so good because it's just Cena, like Renee and the Peter Rosenberg are trying to interview him and trying to get the old John Cena back. But he's just every time I step away from this ring, the pulse, it doesn't beat as hard. And I'm not done. Physically I'm not done. Mentally I'm not done. But I go out and it feels like I'm done because I can't win. And it's just this wonderful promo, and it feels so genuine. He almost feels like he's in tears because he's conflicting with himself. He's just I don't have anything for WrestleMania. And his key part of it is it's not locker room etiquette, but I'm gonna have to go against that to get myself at WrestleMania.
This is
I think it's a fascinating character.
It's a great story. It's a great character development piece for Cena. So I don't get why people are down on it, because they just go, oh well, Cena's obviously going to get a WrestleMania match. You're being too
You
into
said
it.
that.
No, I never said that.
You did say
quoted.
that.
No, I quoted Meltzer saying that, and then I disagreed with him.
Oh, okay.
God, don't put those words into my mouth.
Oh,
I
no,
think
someone
I've been
might go
a fan of what Cena's done.
Someone might have to go back and rewatch the footage.
But
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah, so Cena had this stare down with Seth, which I just loved off the back of the Raw match. And John was working pretty mean. You know, had a bit of a scowl on his face because he really wants that Mania match, which is presumably going to be against The Undertaker. Roman Reigns enters when all four men are down after a double suplex or superplex spot.
Yeah.
I've written there, that's where they'd have a commercial break if this was an episode of Raw. Everyone down. What's going to happen next when Raw rolls on?
Lovely stuff. I particularly like Cena often only does this in multi-man matches because it's the only chance he gets to do it. He did it this time last year at Elimination Chamber 2017 when he gets to do the double 5-knuckle shuffle.
Yes.
And it looks so stupid. And it just looks so cartoony awful. Yeah,
I much prefer the old one.
Exactly, yeah.
When we were watching No Way Out.
Yeah, oh,
and he's old, it looks like it hurts. So, yeah, Roman comes in next and he picks off people and he does a stare down with The Miz. Something weird happens where, I don't know how they got to it, but all four men were around Miz on their knees.
Yes, and Coachman did not see this spot coming. You can clearly tell he's not been watching a lot of Raw working for the company again, because he's just like, why isn't Miz going for any of them? They're all just sitting there. Why isn't he doing anything? So and everyone's like, because he's setting up for the it kicks.
He does this. He does this all the time.
He does this a lot, Coachman. Good call, Coachman. But one of my favorite. I say my favorite thing. I say my favorite thing in big air quotes because I hate it. It's the WWE doublespeak thing of where you just have to say the same thing over and over again in the exact same cadence. When he just starts doing the kicks, and Corey goes, it's the world famous it kicks, and then Michael Cole has to say, actually, it's the world famous yes kicks, as made famous by SmackDown Live general manager Daniel Bryan.
You've got to get your S word in. So I quite enjoyed this because Miz pointed to everyone, who should I kick first, crowd, and he gets to Roman, and the crowd erupts. He is by far the most disliked person in here. Then Reigns on top for a bit.
No, the key to that is that when he's pointing to everyone, and he points at Roman, and the crowd's like, yeah, kick him. So he kicks Seth.
Yeah.
That's so great, because that's the Miz being like, the crowd want this, so I'm going to do the one they don't want.
But then he kicks Roman afterwards, and then everyone's cheering. So Reigns on top for a bit after that, but then Strowman comes out and destroys everyone. Corey has a great call when he says, Braun, what's your weapon of choice? Oh, humans.
Yeah, because he has Finn like up on his chest, and he just swings him into Roman Reigns. It was really great.
And there was another bit where Miz got up to the top of a pod, and Braun was up there, like just too quick for me to realise how he'd done it.
Michael Cole nailed it perfectly when he said, it's like King Kong scaling the Empire State Building, because that's just what it looked like. It was this giant man scaling this cage and getting on top of this pod. It was a wicked sight.
And Braun used Miz as a missile, launched it on everyone.
A missile?
A missile, nice. Elias comes out, but he doesn't. So it's his turn, but he just stays in the pod. Braun then eliminates Miz with a running power slam. That's where everyone gangs up on Braun.
They did the shield bomb, and that was a kick out. They did the AA, that was a kick out. They did
a kick out at one off the AA, and that was like, I assume Cena's hit the AA on Braun before.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, because they had that three-way.
Yeah, on the stairs.
But when he did it, I was like, oh, this feels like a big moment. And then when Braun kicked out at one, it's just, I wish they saved that spot for a singles match. But it was still awesome. And then he kicked out of everything.
Yeah, kicks out the spear. Then they did the stomp and the coup de grace, but Braun was outside and no one could really take advantage. No, it's another new bit of WWE doublespeak. Or WWE speak, I should say. That I think I might have noticed, but haven't really tweaked with it. You can say kick out at 2, but you can't say kick out at 1. If it's a kick out at 1, it's just a kick out.
Okay.
If you notice when they do like the double, like you go for a pin and it's like 1, 2, and they go, kick out at 2, and then they grab them again. It's just a kick out at 1.
Now you've said that.
That's what I mean.
I'm gonna see it everywhere.
You're gonna hear it
everywhere, rather.
I'm gonna keep an eye out for it.
So Elias eventually comes in. He has a little bit of a sequence, but Braun eliminates Elias. Then Strowman eliminates Cena. And then by catching him off the top rope and then he slams him. And then Strowman turns to the other 3 men in the ring and he just screams at them, "Who wants these hands?"
Yeah.
Or just who wants these hands? I thought it was great. But then it happens, all the stuff that we'd already talked about.
Yeah, so actually Balor had a really good running wild moment before he got eliminated. Should have really seen him coming eliminated when he started running wild on everyone.
It's a bit formulaic now, isn't it?
Very much a formulaic thing. You do it in the
And
Rumble
Mickie
as well.
James had it as well.
But yeah, I thought Finn looked really great in this when he was doing his comeback. He felt really fired up. He felt really engaged in what he was doing, and I really liked that. And then so you had then. Braun eliminates Finn, and it comes down to Seth, Roman, and Braun. And the Shield brothers stand up, and they do a little mini fist bump, and then they go after them, and they start beating up Braun, taking him to the outside.
It's a good advantage.
A great advantage when you got a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
So then Seth turns on Reigns. Why would you do that? You're meant to be the architect. Why would you? And then Corey Graves, to his credit, was trying his best to be it was the best opportunity that Seth had to take out Roman. I was like, no, it's not. The best opportunity to take out Roman Reigns is after you've eliminated Braun Strowman. Yeah, that didn't really make a lot of sense.
Again, exactly the same thing happened in the women's chamber match.
Yeah.
With
Banks
and Bayley, which was
was
worse.
That was worse.
I thought that just. This one, I could see kind of why it was still stunk, but it didn't annoy me as much as the women's match.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I didn't like that. Should we go back to the start of the pay-per-view? By the way, on the douchebag rating scale, I gave the men's main event a 3.5.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I wasn't that impressed with it. Apart from the Braun running wild stuff. It didn't feel as vicious. Didn't feel like back in the day, the Chamber would take years off people's careers, and it really felt like a big deal. And then last year it was padded when they brought it back. I was like, okay, that's not too bad, but it still felt brutal. This year, I didn't feel like it was. Braun seemed more of a threat than the actual Chamber itself.
Braun being in that match was the biggest hindrance for it, really, because you put Braun into that situation, you have to book him like the unstoppable monster running through everyone. And I think that then becomes a detriment to the match when you're trying to tell a certain story.
The actual match format, that is.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because, if we've seen time and time again, there's only one winner in Strowman versus Structure, and that is Strowman.
Yeah.
So, back to the real beginning and the pre-show, the Miztourage lost to Galanderson.
In a Raw tag match.
Yeah, so gave this 2.5 stars.
High.
There was nothing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but...
Well, it was just fine. It was. Gallows looked fiery off the hot tag, and the crowd kind of got into it because it was the first match, I suppose, but other than that, there's nothing. Revival spoke backstage afterwards, watching a screen at an angle.
Just for the record, everyone, that means that Ollie thought that the Galanderson versus the Miztourage was 1 star less than the men's elimination chamber.
It's called a douchebag rating scale for a reason. There is no... I gave that rating when I was optimistic at the start of the show.
So we're going back in hindsight.
I was like, because I was really looking forward to the Elimination Chamber.
As was I.
I thought they could still make it a predictable show, but deliver. And I don't think they did.
Oh, I really liked it.
So, women's Elimination Chamber match kicked off the main card.
Just one bit of note, just because I found this very interesting. Just it backs up something that you and I talked about the other week. In the video package, it's not Kurt Angle announcing the women's Elimination Chamber for the first time ever.
Oh, is it not?
It's Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get that PR material.
But it's because, remember we said the reason why Kurt did it is because Alexa then came down and shouted down Kurt.
So, yeah. Well, keeping with the women's revolution, one of the main things, or the mascot almost, is the Wonder Woman outfit.
Yeah.
So Sasha Banks dressed up as Wonder Woman for Royal Rumble. It's Mickie James's turn this time.
Yeah, it was Wonder Woman-esque, wasn't it?
It was it was definitely Wonder Woman. You get the thing. But I fancy people a lot more when they're dressed up like Wonder Woman.
But she didn't have the blue pants.
Weird. Yeah, but she had the thing.
She had the headbands.
It was the thing.
Yeah.
So Sonya Deville or Sonya. So I say Sonya.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Americans say Sonya.
Oh, I'd always say Sonya.
I say Sonya. And Bayley started things off. It was fine.
really liked the fact... I was kind of in two minds about this. With Absolution came out together, everyone got separate entrances with the exception of Absolution. And this was the first time where they actually felt like a team. Because
dressed in white
they were
together,
wearing, and they had like an entrance that they did together, like rather than just being like, here are two women and they happen to be a team. This felt like, hell, they're actually a team together. The only downside of that is that then it just felt like they're not separate people. They're just the team. And so I'm kind of in two minds about that. But hey, at least they actually felt like a team this time.
Well, Mandy Rose came out as the first entrant, so that put Bayley at a disadvantage to Absolution, the team of Absolution. And then, predictably, Sasha Banks came out after that.
Yeah, Bayley got really good reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah, Las Vegas crowd were really into it. I really liked that.
I thought it was a bit of... I wasn't really invested in this first half, I suppose.
Oh, no,
I only really got into it when, surprisingly, when the crowd went dead. When Mickie James came out, I thought she ran real wild.
Oh, I really liked Absolution's beatdown of Bayley. I thought Bayley sold it really well. I thought that
I liked it when they put her in the chains. That was good.
And Sonya did this amazing takedown of her, like outside the ring, like a double leg takedown. It just looked really brutal. I thought that Absolution were quite good. I liked it when they were double teaming Bayley in so to speak.
Lol. So Rose taps out to the Banks statement eventually. This is after Sasha Banks comes in.
Yeah.
They had some great acting cutaways of Alexa Bliss. So occasionally they'd cut to her face. She's amazing. Her facials. She's like,
10th best wrestler in the world.
There was one where it looked like she was actually crying, and there was another one where she was the evilest person I've ever seen.
My MVP of the whole night is Alexa Bliss.
Really?
Absolutely Alexa Bliss, because...
Braun.
No, Alexa Bliss, man, because Bliss just...
Kurt.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kurt is the MVP of this night.
Because, everything that Alexa Bliss did in this match, from her entrance, where she wasn't doing her usual cocky Alexa Bliss self, she was scared of the chamber. She sold how dangerous this match is. She sold how dangerous the taking on 5 challenges is. She sold every single person in the as they made their entrance. And just, you're right, they had these brilliant cutaways to her while she was in the chamber. And every single time she was reacting to the match, she wasn't just standing there stoic, she was always on, and she was always acting. And then her promo afterwards was wonderful.
Sublime, yeah.
So good. She was awesome tonight.
So James came out next, and that's where the crowd kind of fell flat. So Sonya was eliminated? No, Rose was eliminated.
Rose was eliminated,
making
and then James
her
came out.
the first ever person to be eliminated from the first ever Women's Royal Rumble and the first ever Elimination Chamber match.
Well, would you look at that? Maybe they'll get she'll get the Ask a Video package type of thing. When you start to get numbers like that, you can build video packages around it.
Streak. So Mickie James comes out. I was into it. I thought she had a really good fiery sequence. She was just beating everyone up. She got to the top of the pod and jumped off that.
And that's where she pinned Sonya Deville, as I've written here. James eliminates Deville. Absolution suck. Just made, I really liked it when they were beating down Bayley, but turns out as a force, they're not really that good.
Yeah, then Sasha and Bayley team up to eliminate James, and James looks really sadly at Bliss, and Bliss looks sad as well, and it was like, so what was the story here?
That was the most perplexing thing of this. You were telling the story of that Alexa and Mickie were almost teaming up together. Alexa was lying to Mickie James, but Mickie James knew that, but it meant that she would have an ally in the chamber, so she was getting on with that. And the commentators were putting over this storyline throughout the match. But then James got eliminated before Alexa came out, so that storyline had no payoff whatsoever. Which
renders it rather pointless.
It was incredibly
pointless. And now Bliss is gonna go into a feud with Asuka, and Nia Jax is involved. I just don't see what the point of that or the rest of the TV building up to it was.
Yeah, it was filling time on TV, I guess.
So, but talking of pointless, we had Bliss finally come out. Banks and Bayley were waiting for her. It was a 2-on-1 disadvantage, just like in the main event.
For the heels.
And yeah. Real good psychology.
Yep.
And she does have this great bit where she just runs up the cage first. It's the cage chamber. And Banks and Bayley are approaching from opposite sides, and it was a great visual. And they get on top of a pod, and Banks has Bliss. Bliss has just come out of the pod a minute before, and Bayley is climbing up the pod to help her out, and Banks kicks her in the head and knocks her off the pod.
I tell you how much I didn't see it coming. I was too busy looking at my notes because I was writing down what had just happened. And then all of a sudden I heard the crowd react and I saw Bayley on the floor and I looked up, I was like, what the hell happened? And then I saw the replay and then I was like, why did Banks do that?
Yes.
That made... it made no character sense for her to do that.
So it was a great, like, in isolation, shocking. I gasped. Like, you didn't see it coming. It was a cool swerve. But there was no sense around that swerve. Like, you can't just swerve. You need stuff to make sense around it. Why would Banks do this now when they've got the rest of the match? They've got to take out Bliss. You know, this story is... You tell this story by having... you set it up so Bayley eliminates Bliss, and as soon as she stands up celebrating, that's when you get her as a heel. But I don't know. So, like, what is this? Is this a Sasha heel turn? It's a nothing.
No.
It's just going to extend this feud out. I fully expect them to kind of be tense on Raw. Like, but it was every woman for themselves. But I just want a full-on turn by now. I wanted Sasha to win.
I was going to say, bad night. Well, not a bad night for you on predictions because you only got the one wrong. But still, clean
And
sweep.
it was this one, because I went with my heart.
You went with your heart, man. I'll tell you what Banks did do, though. You know, her heel turn, I did big air quotes for podcast listeners. It may have been nothing, but her frog splash off the top of the pod certainly wasn't nothing. It was just awful. It was, considering what Seth did later on when he did his frog splash, it reminded me of, because she does that frog splash as a tribute to Eddie Guerrero, who was obviously a big influence here. Remember when CM Punk started doing the Macho Man elbow drop?
Yeah.
Which was really awful? This just feels the exact same thing. You're doing it as a tribute, but it's really bad.
So Bayley then gets eliminated by Bliss with a roll-up, and then it's Banks versus Bliss, who are both kind of heels by this point, so... Again, bad psychology, I would argue. Bliss does this weird bit where she does a twisted Bliss off of the pod onto Banks on the outside. And Banks it hits Banks full force. And then Banks rolls it over.
Into a bank statement. Yeah.
And it looked no good.
I like the spot.
I liked the bit when she rolled her into the ring, making it a valid submission.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was sloppy before then. And yeah, Bliss wins in the end.
Yeah, so. She did like a top rope DDT. I thought it was a good match. I thought it was actually really good at times. Some of the storylines are perplexing, and some decisions that were made were not the choices that I would make. But I thought that all the girls worked very hard.
I thought it was an average match, and the storylines made no sense.
Fair enough.
Making it a bad match. And I gave it 3.25. So what the hell do I know? What the hell do I know? Bliss is celebrating in the ring afterwards with Renee Young.
Loved this.
So I bought this hook, line and sinker.
I've written here, babyface promo.
I was like, what are they doing? Why is she cutting this promo? This is not the moment to do your women's PR spin. Oh my God. What? And then she turned it and I was like, I'm an idiot. Like, how dare I? I'm a smarky scumbag.
Yep.
Yes, very good. So yeah, Bliss is cutting this promo about how, she's honoured to win this. It's she's crying. People are chanting, "You deserve it," which I think caught her off guard.
No, she sold it perfectly. She was like, I think she was expecting them to chant it.
Oh, okay.
Because then she had the tears in her eyes, and she stopped to say like, "Thank you." That really means a lot to her. But it didn't mean a lot to her because those tears weren't real. She was lying to everyone. Yeah. Oh, it was so great.
She said she did it for every little girl out there, and I'm like, oh God. And then she just turns it and says, because none of you are ever going to achieve your dreams.
What a wonderful
crowd cheered. The crowd cheered like, that was awesome. Yes.
See?
Yeah.
10th best wrestler in the world.
Bliss was great here. So next up we had Ronda Rousey's dressing room door, and Kurt entered it, setting up some stuff later. Braun Strowman had a promo where words were on the screen. The Bar beat Titus Worldwide.
The Bar in the death spot once again. 2 pay-per-views in a row. Which I feel really bad for.
The crowd were dead for it. It wasn't like there was no way anyone could get into this match.
That's what I mean. The same thing happened at the Rumble. Like they had to go out just as the Rumble finished. They had to go out and have a match, and I feel really bad for the Bar. That's 2 pay-per-views in a row now. They've been put in the death spot, and no one could really get into this match. The crowd's just like no one bought into it. And here's where we got our first beach ball. I mean, my thoughts on beach balls are well known at this point. I know your argument is that WWE should just put on a better show to entertain
do it better.
Just do it better. people aren't doing it now because they're not entertained. People are doing it now to just be to purposely sabotage a show.
No. I think if fans are genuinely into a match and a good product is being put on, maybe you'll get a douchebag who brings a beach ball, but the beach ball won't catch on.
I just disagree.
It takes a lot of people to get the beach ball going and to get distracted by the beach ball. And all of that is symptomatic of not a good product.
I agree that perhaps it is a problem, but I don't think the beach balls have become the let's go Cena sucks. People who just chant Cena sucks, it's a reaction to people chanting let's go Cena. They might not even believe it anymore. It's just the Pavlovian response that when someone chants let's go Cena, you chant Cena sucks. When the beach ball comes out, you have to say beach ball, and you have to chant for the beach ball and watch the beach ball go round. It's so disrespectful. It's just the worst thing that you could possibly do, I feel. And I think it really... Because it then distracts people from the match. Then people can't get into the match. And those people who are trying to actually get into the match are distracted by it. I just think it's a really awful, awful thing.
I think we're stuck in a chicken and egg argument here where I think a beach ball is not going to come out in a match that's genuinely interesting.
I 100% disagree.
And I know the SummerSlam bar Shield match.
Thank you very much. That was what I was going to say.
Then the beach ball made that match even better.
Yeah, but then, okay, so Cesaro, we actually said this at the time as well. I was wondering about this because Cesaro went into the crowd and ripped up the beach ball. Is that... Are the beach balls going to come out during every Cesaro match in the hope that Cesaro is going to run into the crowd and tear it up? But like... Then you're just inviting people to not care about the bar matches because you want people to bring beach balls in and have... And I think it's detrimental. And it's again when they did it again during the Matt versus Bray match. And you and I said we don't care about the feud. I didn't care about the feud. Didn't particularly care for the match either. But in a few months' time when people say like, oh, WWE can't do the broken gimmick, WWE don't care about the broken gimmick, it's moments like this when they'll stop and they'll realise, yep, people don't care about the broken gimmicks, let's not bother.
I mean, you haven't convinced me. I still think.
And you have not convinced me either.
But it just goes to show how disinteresting this match was because there's no build to it. There's no reason to invest in the characters. Although, they did. It was a well-wrestled match. I enjoyed Titus's fiery comeback at the end. But the biggest pops were for the beach ball and for Sheamus slipping on a turnbuckle.
He sold that brilliantly, though.
Yeah, wagged his finger at the crowd.
Very good.
But that was the most the crowd were into the match. And as you said earlier with Kick Out at 1, chop blocks.
Yeah.
Chop blocks to the... cock blocks to the back of the leg.
You're watching a very different show to me, mate.
What's that about?
People love a chop block.
Now they do. It's like the finish to every match for the last 6 weeks.
It's been a chop block. Everyone loves it.
I used to love a chop block. It looks brutal, especially when you've got someone, you're holding someone up and all that weight comes crashing down on you. But now it's, that should just be for the revival.
I thought this was a perfectly fine buffer match, but the crowd didn't care.
I got 2.5.
So you thought...
It doesn't mean anything.
So that was also 1 star less than the men's elimination chamber.
It was 60%.
And it was just as good as the Galanderson versus Miz Taraj match.
Asuka beat Nia Jax. We've already talked about this a lot. I enjoyed the match.
She's got a new name.
Who?
Nia Jax.
What was it?
Irresistible Force. They kept putting...
I thought that...
Is that something
that's an old one, isn't it?
Because they saw it on a Titantron as well now.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's on a Titantron, and they kept saying it over and over and over again on commentary. And that's when I suddenly thought, this is the new name they're trying to get over for her. She's the Irresistible Force. God. So, yeah.
Well, Jax was pretty cheered by the crowd here. I enjoyed this. I was really into this match, actually. I thought it had some great back and forth stuff. I loved Asuka's submissions and then Nia picking her up like it was nothing.
Yeah.
There was one moment when Asuka had Nia's standing up. Asuka's got her in some kind of leg lock and Nia just bends over and picks her up over her head. Like there was no resistance whatsoever. Incredible strength. I thought it looked effortless. But then it only went 8 minutes. I was really hoping for this to be a 15, 20-minute match. This had a lot more left in the tank, especially with the nature of the win, which was just Asuka getting a sort of fluky front
surprise
cradle.
roll-up.
Surprise roll-up.
I was really surprised by that. Do you know what? There's a great spot in this. You talk about like the submissions into power reversals by Nia. There's a moment when Asuka had her in a guillotine and Nia Jax just hoisted her up and hit a jackhammer.
Oh my God,
It was so great.
And even better, my favourite spot actually, besides that knee bar, was Asuka kicking Nia Jax around the head, and she hits 2, and then she hits a final one, and Nia just looks at her and screams. I was like, that's some New Japan, more of that stuff.
They did that in NXT as well.
Yeah,
it was great.
But I thought it had so much more left in the tank, and to finish on a fluke when this was when you needed to give someone momentum, you needed someone to go over strong. You didn't need to flatten it out like you did in the main event as well. But yeah, Asuka wins flukily. She's getting a interview with Renee Young, was it, or someone, and Nia Jax attacks her and puts her through the barricade.
It was a flat finish, and I could have done without the Nia Jax attacking stuff.
Yeah, so I gave it a 3-star, that one, on the douchebag scale. I don't know why I even say it anymore. Bliss says afterwards, no one is ready for Alexa.
Nice. Very nice.
Next up, we had Matt Hardy beating Bray Wyatt in this video package that played beforehand was so lackluster. It was just Titantron Pro video packages going back and forth. No mention of the Raw 25 encounter.
Not canon.
No, not canon. I was looking out for it, and I had you in my head. It's not canon, Ollie. I was like, should I even write this down? Because I know what Luke's going to say. So Matt's already out, and Bray Wyatt's music hits. Blip does the blip thing. His music doesn't even hit; just the lights go off.
Yeah.
And lights come back up. Bray's there, but it's just Matt's coat in the middle of the ring. Where's he gone? And then Matt's voice starts playing over the tannoy or whatever they have, the announcing system.
That's a brand name, you fool.
And he starts singing Fade Away and Classify Yourself as Obsolete.
Yep.
And Bray can't find him anywhere. Looking under the ring.
I thought this was going to be the return of Jeff.
Yeah, oh man, that would have been better.
I thought this was setting all that up.
Well, it was setting up something much bigger. A double axe handle off the steps.
It certainly did. Which
I'm here.
And it's my favourite thing in WWE commentary, which is the commentators are told not to watch the ring. They're told to watch the monitors so that you call the action that the audience can see. Because then, so Matt's standing on the steps, but the commentators are going like, "Where's Matt? Bray can't find Matt." When in the real world, they can see him there. It's just this bizarre little world that WWE is.
Yeah, it was. I was I'm not gonna lie. I was interested.
What?
I was
really?
For a moment there.
Oh right, okay.
I was just like, well, it's just his coat. Where is Matt? It's kind of like a children's book, watching it unfold. Is he under the ring? Is he under the ring? I don't know. He's not under the ring, Ollie. Is he behind the announcer's desk? Is he? I don't know. Where is this guy? He's talking somewhere. He's not under the announcer's desk. And no, he was he just turned up.
So what you're saying is that this children's book is like the children's book that they print at the start of Elf, where it's missing the last 2 pages, and you don't really know how the story ends.
50 Shades of Bray.
Nice.
So it was that this match no one was interested in.
No, absolutely not.
Just the characters. I mean, good grief. A year ago, this was a dream. This was a dream match. How could you screw this up? A year ago, freaking Bray was winning the title in the main event of Elimination Chamber.
Certainly was.
So the crowd got to chanting. The beach ball came out. We want beach ball and mania. Then the beach ball was taken away. So Rusev Day chants took over. And Hardy won with a twist of fate.
Crowd just did not care.
No.
Because they have been trained not to care about undercard matches.
Or this feud in the slightest.
I think it's just undercard matches in general, but yeah, in particular this feud. It was an absolutely nothing match.
But here we go, Ronda Rousey's contract signing. So I wasn't impressed with the pay-per-view up until this point, as you probably detected. And the first, half of this segment, I was like, geez, this is... Because Ronda had a lot to prove, but they had to present her very effectively in this segment because her Royal Rumble debut was just confusing and it didn't quite get the momentum. It was certainly newsworthy and noteworthy, but it didn't strike the right chord.
Can I defend this segment?
What, the first bit?
The whole...
Because I loved the second bit. As soon as she stopped talking, and then there's an argument that the second bit allows the first part because she is nervous. Is that what you were going to say?
Well, yeah, her promo, because so Kurt Angle comes out and then Steph and Trips come out together. I was a little bit annoyed that Triple H walked over and just shook hands with Kurt Angle, and I was like, Survivor Series, lads, are we just ignoring everything that happened there? But
yes, I thought the same thing.
Second half completely pays off. So that's great. I'm there questioning these characters, and it's all this kind of setup stuff. And Kurt Angle was just perfect in this, where everything that he did was just, he was trying to hold things back, trying not to say anything, but really just wanting to say these things. And Ronda then cuts this promo, and it's not a good promo. She's just saying words. There's no real emotion behind it. She's just saying, like, this is this is a great opportunity. This is a dream I've always had. I'm very thankful to Roddy Piper's family for letting me carry on the legacy of the name. Yada yada yada. And I was like, this isn't a great promo. But then, with the second half of what happens, I suddenly thought, that promo was bad by design. Because her verbiage would be in there like, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, I'm just so great. It's there because at that point she was grateful for this opportunity, but now she realizes that, they were trying to F me over, I'm done with this, now I can go and be a badass. She was signing as a celebrity, now she's a badass. And that promo is there by design to set up set up the turn from smiley Ronda pointy Rousey to Ronda's a badass who still points.
There's so yes, it was. I agree, it was designed badly for that intention, but I also don't think it was well performed. But like that's it's because she's. I think she's bad at promos.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. This is why I believe the rumor is that we want there's lots of Rousey Heyman talk, and that'd be good. Give her a mouthpiece.
But what you said about Kurt being fantastic off the mic, because he was so engaged, and I was like, what's wrong with Kurt Angle here? Why is he being a bit weird? What was that handshake with Triple H all about? And it felt a bit real for a moment. I was confused. I genuinely wanted to see what happened. Really, Kurt should have had a meeting with Triple H and Stephanie earlier on, rather than just that shot of him going into Ronda's dressing room. And that would have maybe given this a bit more foreshadowing, and it would have worked better structurally. But so Triple H puts over Rousey like $1 million. Had a great line about, the biggest star to walk into WWE since an Olympic gold medalist.
And it wasn't just that, it was like someone who's taken to this so quickly. I haven't seen anyone quickly since this Olympic gold medalist. Like great, because as well, it's putting over Kurt because Trips and Steph want Kurt on his side, trying to placate to his ego. So there's some really nice stuff with Triple H and Steph here. Yeah, and then Ronda comes out and they do this promo, which is not great.
But the crowd start. It was a weird. The crowd were kind of booing, and then you deserve. Was it you deserve?
No, they're trying to
Rousey,
which actually caught Ronda off guard because she then got a little bit choked up which
was cool.
It was cool because at first she did get a very good reaction, but then you're right, there was some boos, and I was like, I initially wrote good pop. Crowd is starting to poop on her a little bit now. Now it's a bit of a mixed reaction, but once Kurt, she went to go sign the contract, and she said, "Kurt, it looks like you want to say something." And that's when the segment just completely turned on a dime, and Kurt was just like, "Hey, I'm just like, they told me that they're trying to mess you around. Like they just like they want to sign you because they want to control you. They're trying to get a revenge for WrestleMania 21.
31.
I mean 31.
Did he say 21?
He said 21.
I didn't pick up on that.
And then literally corrected himself.
It's not a Kurt promo, is it? Without something, I thought his performance was so good that I didn't even pick up on that.
They want to correct their mistake for SummerSlam. I mean WrestleMania. Like, it was, and that was a little bit of a slip up. And then all of a sudden Ronda just went. She had character changed, and then she just looked at him and was like, "Oh, really now?" And then she drops Triple H because Triple H is then like, Kurt's been in the hospital with the flu. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's having a relapse, which I'm hoping he's talking about the flu and not other things. And then just sort of kind of like guides him out the ring like this doddering old man, and just be like, "Oh, Kurt saying his wacky things. Oh, racist granddad saying his
inappropriate uncle, I called him."
Exactly. And just like guides him out the ring, and then Kurt just grabs the microphone again and was just like, "Oh yeah," and Steph's called you has been. Oh yeah, no, what's Kurt had this amazing line.
The great line was 3 years in the making, and now we own that. And Triple H cuts him off just before he says, That was a money line.
So
was
good.
So good.
Perfectly timed on Trips as well.
Yeah.
Like to Trips to cut him off. And then he grabs it and says like, oh yeah, Steph also said that you're a has-been and even she could beat you up.
Yeah, because Stephanie tried to get out of the bitch line by saying, we were angry at you, but we also were so impressed. That's why we want you here now. And Kurt's like, well, why did you say she was a has-been earlier? Or, to that effect.
Yeah.
It was just great. It was, that ropey bit at the start doesn't matter because the second half was so strong and so big time. Felt big time. Everything felt real. It had some, had a naughty word in. That's when WWE care about a feud.
That's when Triple H is involved in the creative side of it. It's like,
suck it. Here's my dick in your face.
The Attitude Era is back again.
Yeah.
Give me some glow sticks. Anyway, so Ronda then steps up to Steph, and then Steph's really backing away. Triple H gets involved. Ronda just slams him through a table.
Yeah, belly to Bayley.
Picks
him up and puts him back down again. Through a table.
And then, and it was because I saw some people complain that Steph slapped Ronda, but then Ronda didn't give her anything back. But actually, I think that's great. It's because those are the two people that WWE want you to think are the two main stars of this feud. And so Steph is the heel, Ronda's the babyface. And Ronda, all in her facial reactions, told you everything you need to know about the story. It was like, yeah, she slapped me, and I could kill her now. But I want her to think she's got the upper hand.
So I loved this segment. I thought it was the best thing in the show by quite a long way. I agree with those people, though. I would have preferred Stephanie slaps Ronda. It's bloody hard as well. I don't know why Ronda just didn't then grab Stephanie, take her out, sign the contract, throw it down on their bodies, and then pose on the ropes. I thought that would have been a much stronger. I know you want to keep them apart to the big match. I think this would have been. That's how they built Vince and Stone Cold. Stone Cold would stun a Vince all the time.
And I was going to correct you there. Stephanie can only get her comeuppance at WrestleMania.
I know.
She can't get her comeuppance at any other time, so you can't do it at the Elimination Chamber.
Yes, that's my bad. Well, a great segment, though.
But there was a great line from Cole. Great line from Cole as she was walking up the ramp. He said, and I quote, "What if Ronda shows up on Raw?" And my reaction was like, well, I'd bloody hope so. Michael Cole, she's a Raw star now.
So that is... It looks like we've got Kurt and Ronda versus Trips and Steph.
Yes,
which is cool. So, what did you think of the show overall? Because I gave it 3 out of 5.
You gave it an average.
I gave it an average.
I enjoyed the show. I don't know. Maybe I just woke up in a really good mood this morning. Because
it does have a lot to do with it sometimes.
Yeah, I just
good night's sleep.
And I didn't get a good night's sleep. I slept pretty awfully, and I've had barely any sleep over the weekend because of other activities, which I'll talk about on the podcast. I really enjoyed the show. I wouldn't have said I'd given it a 4 out of 5 or anything like that, but I've certainly given it a high average. But I'm looking at it, I'm in WrestleMania fever. I'm excited about what's coming up next. I'm enjoying it much more than I'm enjoying SmackDown. And yeah, there are some things that I can question. There are some things I don't agree with. But overall, I enjoyed the show.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Please click the videos that have just appeared on our laps to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or WrestleTalk news. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and the podcast version wherever you get your podcasts. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis. And that was Rambling.